Welcome to TEDCO's Entrepreneur Expo in downtown Baltimore, where the region's top business owners, innovators, and investors have gathered to network, grow, and celebrate the vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystem in Maryland. I'm Frew with BioBuzz Networks, and I'm honored today to be with Dr. Arti Santhanam, Executive Director of the Emerging Technology Centers in Baltimore. Arti, welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. Could you tell us a little bit more about your background and tell us about ETC?
So my background is I'm a scientist by training, and very soon realized that as good as I was at science, I was really good at taking the science and bringing it to the marketplace. So about 10 years ago, I started my career with TEDCO, actually. So TEDCO is home, and ran the Maryland Innovation Initiative, and more recently transitioned to run the Emerging Technology Center. And Emerging Technology Centers is is a 25-year-old brand for the city of Baltimore. Our mission is to make Baltimore the world leader in tech and biotech entrepreneurship by supporting diverse and inclusive entrepreneurial ecosystem.
A 25-year-old incubator like that is a great. You're standing on the shoulder of giants almost coming into that.
I know.
I'd love to hear more about what your programs are and what your initiatives are at the ETC right now.
So you're right. So ETC supported over 700 startups in its history, and over COVID, we shut down the actual physical space that was the ETC incubator. So now we have, after that short hiatus, we have relaunched ETC as more of a virtual incubator that is supporting all technology sectors and all startups across the city of Baltimore. And the way we are doing it is in multiple different phases, but really looking to see how we can connect our entrepreneurs with talent, capital, and resources that will help them grow and scale those innovations. So as you know, TEDCO does a lot of investments in the very early stage, and where ETC would love to come in now as the next phase of ETC is to look at those companies, those startups, and help them scale and exit, because we need more exits as our positive, happy stories as well as part of the entrepreneurship cycle.
Why was this opportunity at ETC, because it's a more recent opportunity for you, why was this something that really got you excited, and where do you see the impact that you can make?
Multiple different reasons. One being that you can feel the energy in Baltimore City, right? So there's a lot of energy in Baltimore when it comes to entrepreneurship. Baltimore also redefined itself as the equitech city, where we are going to do everything entrepreneurial with a lens of equitech. So we are looking at how do we help underrepresented founders, and how do we help women founders and founders of color. And that is something obviously very near and dear to me. But the other thing is Baltimore was declared as the federal tech hub, specifically in biotech. And that is my wheelhouse. I am a scientist by training in life sciences. And one of the things that I get an opportunity to do through the ETC is actually roll up my sleeves and work with companies that I know have so much potential. We have all of the innovation, and there's so much potential in these companies, and I really want to help them grow and scale and really achieve their potential rather than really struggle. So we have created an infrastructure for very early stage, but we don't have the infrastructure created for mid-stage companies, especially in life sciences. And ETC gives me the opportunity to create that for these startups.
And how has ETC, and how are you, as you move forward, partnered with TEDCO and worked with TEDCO for your mission?
So like I said, TEDCO is our pipeline. So TEDCO touches almost everybody in the state, But a lot of the innovations come from this small little city here, right? Because there are so many of the research institutions are in this in Baltimore. We have the University of Maryland system as well as Hopkins that are churning out a lot of innovations, many of which I kind of had a hand in when I was working at TEDCO. So I've seen those companies come through. So TEDCO really is the innovation engine, and it is providing all of those in the startups with the very early pre-seed and seed money. So we are working very closely with TEDCO on working on identifying the promising companies that we would want to work on growing and scaling, and how do we collaborate on that. So we are collaborating on almost all levels, including funding, but looking at where do we provide the support, who has the most need, and how do we attract companies as well as investments into the city of Baltimore.
I agree with you. When you said that Baltimore is kind of redefined, and you mentioned Equitech, you also mentioned the tech hubs. It's been a lot of really amazing momentum.
Yeah,
that's been happening.
you can feel the energy in the air. Yeah. If not now, then when, right?
Yeah.
So when do we get to actually sit down and, it's really, for me, it's play. It's so much fun to actually roll up my sleeves and work with companies and ideas and technologies that I can actually impact because of my background. I can actually work with them and work really well with them and help them grow. So I really am excited to work on that.
Well, you and I've known each other a long time. You've had a tremendous amount of impact on everything you did while you were with TEDCO through the MII program, and it's almost like this at the ETC. You're going to probably get to work with some of those companies, and it's almost like the next phase of
Exactly. Yeah. So I get to see them. I want to see them. Actually, it's all selfish, really. I want to see them in the next phase, and how can I help them go there? Because I have seen research at the research bench. I've seen research move into a venture creation, which is what I did at TEDCO, and now I want to see venture growth. And how do I do that? And it's just it's a challenge, obviously, for Baltimore City. It's a challenge of capital and talent, and how do we approach that? And so we are obviously working with BioBuzz as well as TEDCO on looking at the innovation and the workforce development aspects of it, but also how do we impact, how do we then message that to the people in Baltimore? How does that affect them? So that's also something that's built into the mission of ETC, and so that's very attractive as well.
Yeah, the Baltimore focus. Could you describe? You mentioned it's all selfish, but I want to say that I think you that is true, but I think it speaks to something more about Baltimore, that there's a selfish nature of helping. I don't know if that makes sense, but there's a culture here where people want, and we've heard that from several people we've interviewed today, people want to help the other person. Does that feel like
it's almost like we are competitive on that, right? So we compete on who does more for the entrepreneur, and which group is doing more for the entrepreneur, and how are you going to do it, right? So it's a fun culture to be around. It gets very competitive when we are working with all of our entrepreneurs, not on for the entrepreneurs, but for the entrepreneur support organizations. We are all working. We're all essentially rowing in the same direction, but we're using different oars, if that makes any sense. And so we're like, oh, mine is better. We can get there faster. And it all speaks to a very healthy ecosystem. There should be competition. There should be more of that. And I think, especially in life sciences, I feel like there's less. So I'm hoping that I can attract more of that competition to come through as well, because that's something that we can really, I think, I always say that life sciences is a core competency for Baltimore City. It may not be for the entire state of Maryland, where cyber plays a bigger role as well, but for the city of Baltimore, I think there is a core competency of life sciences that we can really leverage. And that's something that I really want to explore, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. And while we're all rowing with different oars, the tide is rising for everyone because of the waves that we're creating.
Yes, that's true. Hey, that's good.
Well, as always, it's wonderful to talk to you. Very excited to see everything you're doing at the ETC right now, and the continuation of all the work that you've done for Baltimore. The energy is all around the city right now, and a big part of it's going to be coming out of the work you're doing. So definitely more to
Work
come.
we are doing, the work we are going to do. It's all of us together.
That is, and this is today at the expo is a good example of this. You have here today 1,000 people who are all really trying to start companies or support companies.
It's been buzzing. It's really good. It's good.
Indeed, I like that. Well, Arti, thank you so much for being here today. My name is Frew with BioBuzz Networks. We're here today at the TEDCO Expo. Thank you.